The Hapkido techniques at Purple Belt are going to be for falling and rolling. A little bit more advanced versions of what you learned at Yellow Belt. We call this feather set when you link them all together. And that's the very first thing I want to bring up is the fact that it's called feather set and not brick set. As you first start learning these rolls, there's going to be a lot of hard thumps and clunks. That's bad. Hard thumps and clunks on pavement is broken bone. You want to learn how to make these really smooth. With that said, back in the day when they were putting these techniques together, they didn't have the nice soft mats that I have today. They did it on hard-packed earth. For you at home, if you're going to do this seriously, I recommend getting some mats. You don't want to hurt yourself during practice. Even if you get some cheap puzzle mats from Harbor Freight that you can just link together and put on your living room. Also make sure that if you're doing this in your living room, clear furniture away because sometimes you do lose control when you're tumbling and you don't want to put your forehead into the corner of a table. Ask an expert like me, I know. It's happened. That's why I'm like this. So outside of that, I think these rolling and falling techniques probably the most important techniques you can have for self-defense. What happens if you're in the middle of self-defense and somebody catches your foot? You're going to want to know how to fall. Even better yet, can you roll and make it look like you meant to do that? Also, what happens if you're running away and all of a sudden you trip on your own feet? Happens in the horror movies all the time, right? That's because art emulates real life. So with that, if you're running away and you trip, you should be able to tumble, roll right back up to your feet and keep running without losing your stride. So with that, let's take a look at the rolling portion of this belt rank. Let's explore the somersault. The somersault is an alternative to front fall. Obviously, if you're front falling on the street, that can be disastrous. You can end up with scraped elbows, maybe a broken wrist, even if you do your front fall properly. So even better than falling is if you can catch your momentum and roll. You also look cooler when you roll instead of falling. People will go like, wow, can I get your autograph? So the number one thing with the double shoulder roll is that you want to go over both shoulders at the same time. Commonality with all of the falls that you learned at Yellow Belt is going to be our head position. I'm going to be talking about a different head position for each one of our rolls. For double shoulder roll or somersault, the chin is going to go all the way down to the chest. And if I turn to the side, you'll see you couldn't even fit a business card underneath there. This chin to the chest protects my neck. If I do a roll and my head hits the mat first, if I'm looking like this, that causes motion in my neck. And all that pressure can cause injury to my neck. If I do my roll and my chin's already on my chest, you see I can't move my head anymore. All that pressure goes from my chin into my sternum, and it can handle that pressure a lot better. So as we go into this double shoulder roll, I want to make a point that you do eventually want to try to stand up when you're doing these. That's the situation you're going to be in when you're using it in real life. But in the beginning, rolling from standing up that high can be scary. So we're going to start crouched down, very similar to what we did with our falls. Our first position is going to be like we did in our front fall and our back fall, our pooping in the forest position. Most important thing I mentioned earlier, that chin's going to go to my chest. I don't want my head touching the mat at all in this. I want my first point of contact to be between my shoulder blades. But if my head does accidentally touch the ground, I want my neck protected. My elbows are going to post on the inside of my knees. And when I put my chin down, that's going to make my spine very curved. I want to keep my whole body tucked in a ball like that. I don't want it to straighten out like a brick. As I kick my legs up, my body is going to balance on my hands, and I'm going to flip over to my shoulder and come right up to my feet. Single shoulder roll is a better alternative than a double shoulder roll. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but the problem with double shoulder roll is you're directly putting your head towards the ground, which could be dangerous. With a single shoulder roll, you're going to have your head tucked to the side, and you're going to be rolling over just one shoulder instead of two. So as we go into this single shoulder roll, we're going to want more of a side-on stance. So I'm going to choose this position where I have one knee down and the other knee forward. So I want to talk about the two-wheel method to doing this rolling. Obviously, if you have one wheel and you roll it fast enough, it's going to go straight for a while, but after a while, it starts wobbling. If you have two wheels, they help hold each other in position. So here's my first wheel I'll show you is my feet. You notice if I've got my heel of this foot lined up with the ball of the toe of that foot, I get a little wheel going on here between my hip, my thigh, my knee, and my foot. The other wheel I'm going to have is with my arms. If I turn this way, I make this triangle and I put this triangle down between my feet. Now you can see this wheel going around my shoulders. If I have both of my wheels facing the same way, that's going to help me roll straighter. So from this position, I'm going to have my left knee down. I'm going to have my right knee up. I'm going to have them aligned on the side. I'm going to make my circle. I tuck my chin down and get my ear over to my shoulder that I'm not rolling over. I'm rolling over this one. If my head's over here, I'm going to end up eating the dirt. If my head's over here, the ground's going to go right past my ear. I go from that position, I make my second wheel. My second wheel's on the ground. Now my back leg comes into play. It's going to stand up and it's going to push, and that's going to send my momentum forward. The back roll is identical to front roll. My chin position is going to be the same, getting my head away from my shoulder. My foot position is going to be the same. The only thing that's going to change is my hand position. My hands, both of them make that triangle and they go over whatever shoulder I'm going to roll over. That's going to give me a position to push by. So the first thing I want to bring up about the back roll is the fact that we don't want to roll straight back over our head. You can imagine if there's a rock laying on the ground and I go over my head and it hits me in that lower part of my skull, that's a very sensitive spot. That can definitely mess everything up in your life. So one of the things is just like with the single shoulder roll where I went over one shoulder and diagonally across my back to the opposite hip, I'm going to use that same technique for my back roll. You'll notice from the position that I start in, same as my single shoulder roll, this hip is closest to the ground. So if I'm back rolling from here, I'm going to roll from this hip diagonally up to this shoulder. So to show you slowly, I go from my kneeling position, I sit down to my hip, I tuck my head away from my shoulder I'm going to roll over, and I'm going to put both of my hands right next to my shoulder. At that point, I'm going to use this leg to kick me back. There's two kicks in this. First kick is this leg doing a snap kick. It pushes down on the floor and kicks straight back there. My second kick is my opposite foot is going to do a back kick. And this back kick right here is going to be what pulls my head back up. Show you that full speed. I'll try to slow it down a little bit. So we get our foot out of the way, hip goes down, head goes over to the shoulder, we kick back, come up to a guard. Perfect. The barrel roll comes in very handy if you find yourself all of a sudden down on the ground. Maybe you slipped, maybe somebody caught your foot while you were kicking at them, and the problem is if you just stay there, you're vulnerable. It's easy to hit a target that's standing still. It's hard to hit a moving target. So this barrel roll will allow you to change your position while you're on the ground and bring you to a push-up position where you can really quickly spring to your feet. So the first thing I want to bring up about the barrel roll is what we're doing with the eyes. This is going to come in higher ranks when you get up to the red belt and you start learning your spin kicks. You want to do this thing called spotting, where you look at a point, you spin around, and you look right for that same point again. It's going to help keep you from getting dizzy. So with the barrel roll, we're going to start from our front fall position. Remember front fall, I'm making that triangle with my fingers and my thumb. That's going in front of me, and my feet are in a push-up position, but they're apart so that I have stability. Notice right now I'm looking down the mat towards the camera. If I'm rolling that way, I'm going to take my hand. That hand's going to shoot underneath me. As that hand shoots underneath me, I'm focusing on my shoulder and my hip hitting the mat at the same time. My eyes have just gone from looking this way to snapping all the way around to look at that camera again. That's going to help bring the rest of my body around with my leg and my arm pushing me back to this front fall position. From there, it's easy enough to push up with my hands, bring my feet in, and I'm in a position to stand up and run away if I need to. I'm going to do one of these going that way now. I pick up the hand, I'm looking that way, I shoot underneath, I look that way again. As I'm coming this way, I spot the camera as I come around. So we're now going to combine our rolls with our falls to create feather set. Now, as we're going through our rolling in the feather set, it's going to be adding momentum to our falls and adding impact to our falls, which is good. It's going to make the falls better. But if you're not already comfortable with the falls, go back to yellow belt right now, practice all your falling technique, and make sure you're really comfortable with your rolling technique before you put them together for feather set. Our first rolling combo that you're going to want to practice is going to be our double shoulder roll or our somersault going into a front fall. So the way this works is we want to go from our pooping in the forest position. I'm going to do my somersault and come right back to my feet. Now remember, from the front fall from yellow belt, I don't want to go forward with this. I want my feet to go back so that my hands go straight down and I look to the side. Once I've completed that, I'm going to do this push-up with my hand. I'm going to kick my feet right back together for this crouch position. From this squat position, I'm going to do my next combo, which is the back roll going into the back fall. Two things I'm going to adjust at this point. The first thing is my head. The other thing is my foot, getting it back behind me. That starts my momentum going backwards. From there, my hands come up to the shoulder that I'm going to roll over. I kick myself back into my back roll, and I come right back to the squatting position again. Now remember, as I go into my back fall, I don't want it going backwards. I want my fall to go straight down. So in order to do that, I've got to get my feet to kick straight forward. So I put my chin to the chest, the hips go forward, and I slap. Our next combo is going to be a side roll or a barrel roll into a side fall. We start this one from our back fall position. Once I'm here, I'm going to look the direction I'm going. That's going to start the rest of my body rolling around until I can come up into my front fall position. Once I'm there, I'm going to shoot my hand underneath me to create this barrel roll, and it's going to be my left hand, my left foot. I actually point my left hand at the toe. That's going to make sure that hand and foot come around at the same time and slap the ground. As I'm coming around, I'm going to make sure my other foot, my right foot, the knee points straight up, and the right hand protects my face. Once I've hit that position, I'm going to roll back the opposite way into my front fall position. I shoot my left hand under. Now I'm reaching my right foot and my right hand around to do my right side fall. Notice how my other foot comes up knee up and my other hand comes up arm up. Our next combo is a series of techniques that leads us to what we call an instant stand. It's a way that I can stand up without using my hands, because of course I'd rather have my hands to be able to protect the pretty. So there's going to be two parts that make this up. The first part is what I'm doing with my lower body. It's going to be the kicking. So if I'm starting from this side fall position that we were in from our barrel roll, there's two kicks involved. My left foot is doing this big arching outside crescent kick. And you notice when I went that way, I switched from being on my right side over to on my left side. My right leg is also going to do a crescent kick. It's going to be doing a big arching inside crescent kick. Notice it's going the same direction as my left foot. The only difference is, as I do this inside crescent kick, when it gets to the top, I'm going to change it to an axe kick. And that axe kick gives me momentum to sit up, which is part of what we need for our instant stand. The other part I'm going to talk about is this momentum of the roll. Now, we don't want our back flat like a brick. We want it round like a ball. So once I've gone into my back roll, or my side fall, I'm going to roll from my shoulders to my hips. This can be a good exercise. You try it, chin on your chest, and just keep going back and forth like this. Gives you a nice back rub. It also lets you feel what your momentum should feel like in a forward shoulder roll or a backward roll. So if I put these two momentums together, I'm going for my side fall, I'm doing my crescent kicks, and I'm rocking up and kicking my legs. If I do that fast enough, I can get all the way up to a crouched position and keep my hands right here in front of me so I can grab my opponent or I can block punches or kicks. Our last combo of the feather set is combining our right shoulder roll with our left shoulder roll. In the case where I did the instant stand, I came up with my right foot forward. If you came up with your left foot forward, that's fine. You're just going to do it backwards. You're going to start left shoulder roll, go to right shoulder roll. So I'm going to start off with my right knee up. I'm making sure that both of my feet are lined up on the same plane. I get my hands in the position to start my roll. The key is when I finish, I want to come right back up to this position. Now, once I'm here, I just have to do an about face. It's pretty simple. I just put the right knee down, and then I pick the left knee up. That puts me facing the opposite direction. From there, I'm just going to do my left shoulder roll. When you're done, you can stand back up. So we're going to get into the full feather set. This is going to take up a lot of space. So you want to make sure you're looking around right now. You don't have anything that you could accidentally knock into and hurt yourself. Make sure if you need your mats out, you get your mat laid out. Now that I'm thinking about it though, I think this mat might just be a little bit too small. That looks a lot better. What do you think? This should give us plenty of space. So here's going to be the whole feather set all together. Remember the pattern. Front roll, front fall. Back roll, back fall. Right side roll, right side fall. Left side roll, left side fall. Or you could do that backwards if you are left-handed. We're going to do our instant stand. Then we're going to go to our shoulder roll. Shoulder roll one way, about face, shoulder roll the other way. Here's what that should look like.